It always starts the same way in our neighborhood. A quiet evening, the hum of crickets, the faint glow of porch lights, and the unwanted shadow of our HOA president, Karen. She wasn't just any nosy neighbor. She had carved herself into the role of self-proclaimed sheriff of the cul-de-sac, armed with a clipboard, a shrill voice, and the kind of authority complex that made dictators look humble. That night, I wasn't doing anything unusual. I was in my garage, sorting tools, wiping grease off my motorcycle, and making room for a few new crates that had just been delivered. Nothing suspicious, nothing illegal. Just me, my garage, and the normal mess of a man who valued hard work over perfect curb appeal. But Karen had her eyes on me. For months, she'd been escalating. Complaints about my lawn. Demands that my truck be parked straight in the driveway. Notes shoved under my door warning that my garage door was an eyesore if left open too long. The woman thrived on confrontation, and the HOA board seemed to encourage her because they were either too scared to stop her or too entertained by her antics. Still, even by her standards, I didn't expect what happened that night. Around 8:30 p.m., I heard the sound of high heels clicking against the pavement. A flashlight beam cut through the darkness and landed right on my garage door, which was halfway open. Then came her voice, sharp enough to pierce the night. "You can't leave that garage open past sundown. That's an HOA violation, and I will write you up." I leaned against my toolbox, wiping my hands on a rag. "Karen, it's my garage. I'll close it when I'm done. Go harass someone else." That answer didn't sit well. She stomped closer, raising her phone like a weapon. "You think you can talk to me that way? You think you can disrespect this community? I've had it with you. I'm calling the police right now." I chuckled, shaking my head. "Call them. Tell them my garage offends you. See how fast they laugh before hanging up." But she wasn't bluffing. She dialed. She exaggerated. She screamed into the phone like I had committed a felony. "Hello, yes. This is Karen from the Maplewood HOA. My neighbor is acting threatening in his garage. He's dangerous. He has weapons. He might attack me. You need to send officers armed now. He's resisting the HOA, and I fear for my life." I froze. This wasn't just Karen's usual tattling. She was trying to escalate the situation into something deadly. She wasn't asking for police to talk to me. She was setting me up to be seen as a threat, the kind cops might show up ready to put down. My blood ran cold, but I played it cool. "Karen, you're insane. I don't have weapons out here. I'm cleaning my tools." But she had already turned away, standing at the edge of my driveway like a director setting the stage for a show. She wanted the flashing lights. She wanted the scene. She wanted me cuffed, humiliated, or worse. Minutes later, I heard the distant wail of sirens. I expected 2 squad cars, maybe 3. Instead, half the city descended on my cul-de-sac. 5 cruisers, lights blaring, tires screeching. Officers spilled out, some with hands on their holsters, others with rifles drawn. Karen screamed, pointing at me. "That's him. That's the man. He threatened me with guns. He's a danger to this community. Do your job. Take him out before he hurts someone." I raised my hand slowly. "Officers, listen, this is a setup. She called you with lies. I'm not armed. I haven't threatened anyone." The tension was thick enough to choke on. I could see it in the officers' eyes. They weren't sure what to believe. Karen was hysterical, dramatic, painting me as some lunatic ready to shoot at neighbors. And then there was me, calm, steady, trying to reason with men who had their fingers itching near triggers. That's when everything spiraled into chaos. From behind me, deep inside the garage, a shadow moved. The officers stiffened, their rifles tilted upward. And out stepped the last person anyone expected to see, Governor Harris himself. He was in my garage. Sweat beaded on his forehead. He was pale, stumbling, clearly disoriented. And before I could even process how the governor of the state had ended up in my garage, Karen shrieked, "He's got a hostage. He's keeping the governor hostage in there. Shoot him. Shoot him now." Time slowed. The officers panicked. They saw the governor, saw me near him, and they didn't wait for orders. 2 shots cracked through the night. Loud. Deafening. The governor staggered, clutched his chest, and collapsed onto the concrete floor of my garage. The neighborhood gasped in horror. Karen froze. Her mouth fell open. The smug grin drained from her face as she realized what had just happened. She had wanted me destroyed. She had wanted the cops to make an example of me. But instead, her lies had triggered something far bigger, something catastrophic. The governor of the state lay bleeding out in my garage. And every single cop who had fired looked like they'd just seen their careers and lives flash before their eyes. I stood frozen, my hands still in the air, my mind racing. This wasn't just about me anymore. This wasn't about Karen and her obsession with HOA rules. This was something far bigger. And it was only the beginning. The silence after the shots felt heavier than the gunfire itself. My garage smelled of gunpowder and burnt concrete, and the air buzzed with disbelief. Governor Harris lay on the ground, his hand twitching, a red bloom spreading across his crisp white shirt. The man who just hours ago might have been giving a speech at the Capitol was now gasping for air on my oil-stained garage floor. The cops stood frozen, their weapons lowered but still shaking. Their faces said everything. They knew they hadn't just pulled the trigger on some random suspect. They'd shot the governor. Karen's shrill voice cracked the silence. What did you do? Oh my God, you shot him. You weren't supposed to shoot him. Her words twisted the knife. She had begged for it, demanded it, screamed for it, and now she wanted to rewrite her role in the disaster. Her face turned pale as she realized her call had set this chain of events in motion. I dropped to my knees beside Harris, ignoring the shouts from the officers. Governor, stay with me. Stay awake. Don't you dare close your eyes. His breathing was ragged. I came to warn you. His words broke into coughs, blood staining his lips. Before I could ask what he meant, one of the officers snapped out of his daze and rushed forward. Get EMS here now. Another officer fumbled with his radio, his voice shaking as he tried to explain the unexplainable. We've got an officer-involved shooting. The governor is down. Repeat, the governor is down. Karen staggered backward, clutching her phone to her chest like it was her last lifeline. She whispered frantically, This isn't my fault. I didn't tell them to shoot him. I just wanted. I turned my eyes on her, fury burning hotter than I'd ever felt. You wanted me dead. You called them here to kill me. And now look what you've done. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. She had no comeback, no witty retort. For the first time, Karen was speechless. But the officers weren't about to let me play medic. Two of them rushed toward me, weapons still drawn. Step away from him. Hands where we can see them. I'm trying to keep him alive. I shouted back. Step away. I clenched my teeth and slowly backed up, my hands raised again. I wasn't stupid. I knew one wrong move could mean I joined the governor on the floor. The wail of sirens grew louder as ambulances and more squad cars stormed the street. My neighbors had gathered in clusters, their phones out, filming, whispering, terrified. The calm little cul-de-sac had turned into the center of the universe in a matter of minutes. Paramedics rushed into the garage, pushing me aside without a word. They worked quickly, cutting Harris's shirt open, pressing gauze to his wounds, shouting numbers and codes I'd barely understood. One of them barked, "We need a medevac chopper now. He won't make it by ground." The officers finally holstered their weapons, but the damage was done. My garage floor looked like a crime scene, and in a way it was. Karen tried to slip away, but one of the neighbors shouted, "Don't let her leave." She called the cops. She started this. All eyes turned to her. Her face drained of color. No, I didn't know they'd shoot. He was threatening the neighborhood. He had the governor locked in his garage. I was trying to protect us. It was a lie so flimsy you could see daylight through it. One of the officers frowned. "Ma'am, how exactly did you know the governor was inside his garage before we got here?" Karen froze. I almost smiled, despite the chaos. She hadn't thought that far ahead. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again, but no words came out. The officer narrowed his eyes. "You want to explain how you called in a claim about weapons, then somehow knew the governor was involved before we even saw him? Karen's hands trembled as she stammered. I saw. I heard, someone told me. The crowd murmured. Cameras zoomed in. The paramedics wheeled Harris out on a stretcher, still fighting for his life, his face pale under the harsh glow of the streetlights. He was loaded into the ambulance, sirens screaming as it tore off down the road toward the waiting helicopter. The officers turned their attention back to me. "You're coming with us," one of them said flatly. "On what charges?" I shot back. "Until we get this sorted out, you're a suspect in an attempted assassination of the governor." The words hit me like a sledgehammer. "Are you kidding me? You saw what happened. Your guys shot him." I didn't even touch a gun. Karen, sensing an opportunity, latched onto their words. "Yes. Arrest him. He's dangerous. He had the governor trapped in his garage. I saw it. He's been planning something. I knew it all along." My neighbors erupted in protest. Some shouted in my defense. "That's a lie. He didn't do anything." Others simply filmed, knowing this footage was worth more than gold. But the officers weren't listening. Their faces were stone. They needed a scapegoat, someone to take the blame while their superiors figured out how to spin the disaster. And thanks to Karen, I was standing right in the middle of the bullseye. They cuffed me. The steel bit into my wrists, cold and merciless. The cameras caught every second. Karen smiling again now, smug, victorious, as if she hadn't just orchestrated the biggest political scandal in decades. But deep down, I saw the cracks forming. Her smile was too tight, her eyes darted too quickly. She knew the truth was coming for her, and when it did, not even her beloved HOA board would save her. As the cops shoved me into the back of the squad car, I locked eyes with her through the window. I didn't have to say a word. My stare told her everything. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The ride in the back of the squad car was suffocating. The flashing red and blue lights painted the inside like a nightmare, and every bump in the road reminded me that cold steel cuffs dug into my wrists. My own neighborhood had turned into a circus behind me. Neighbors shouting, cameras rolling, and Karen standing there, smug as though she had just conquered Rome. At the precinct, things moved fast. I was shoved into a gray interrogation room with flickering fluorescent lights and a table that looked like it had seen decades of cigarette burns. 2 detectives came in, suits rumpled, faces tense. They weren't rookies. They carried the weight of men who had been thrown into something way above their pay grade. One of them, Detective Marlowe, dropped a thick folder onto the table. He didn't even sit before growling. "You want to tell me why the governor of this state was bleeding out on your garage floor?" I met his glare without flinching. "I'd love to if you tell me how he got there." Because I had no clue he was even in my garage until your officers shot him. The other detective, Ramirez, leaned forward, folding his hands. "So you're saying you didn't lure him there? Didn't threaten him? Didn't plan this?" I barked out a bitter laugh. "Plan what? To fix my motorcycle? To clean my tools?" "Because that's what I was doing before your trigger-happy squad lit him up." Marlowe slammed a photo onto the table. It showed Harris, pale, bloodied, being wheeled into the ambulance. "That man is fighting for his life. And right now, every piece of evidence points to you." I raised an eyebrow. "Evidence? What evidence? That your officers shot the wrong man? Or that Karen, the HOA queen of lies, set this whole thing in motion?" That got their attention. Ramirez frowned. "Karen? The neighbor who made the 911 call. The same one. She told you I had weapons. She told you I was dangerous. She told you the governor was inside my garage before you ever saw him. You don't think that's strange?" The detectives exchanged a look. For the first time, doubt flickered. But before they could dig deeper, the door burst open. A uniformed officer leaned in. "We've got media swarming the building. They know the governor was shot. It's all over the news." Marlowe cursed under his breath. Ramirez muttered, "This is going to be a disaster." The officer added, "And there's more. The governor made it to surgery. He's critical but stable. The doctors say if he makes it through the night, he'll probably live." Relief washed through me like cold water. At least Harris wasn't gone, not yet. But then the officer's next words twisted that relief into dread. The chief wants to hold a press conference in an hour. He's not naming suspects yet, but the reporters already know someone from Maplewood was brought in. It's going to break wide open. The detectives looked at me. Ramirez sighed. You're in the middle of a storm. And whether you're guilty or not, someone's going to hang for this. Meanwhile, back at the neighborhood, Karen was already working overtime to twist the story. With cameras in her face and microphones shoved at her, she turned on the waterworks. I was so scared, she sobbed, clutching her pearls for effect. I just wanted to protect my community. He's always been aggressive, always disrespecting the HOA. I had no choice but to call for help. I never imagined the governor was in danger. God bless him. I pray for his recovery. The neighbors weren't buying it. I wasn't there to see it, but words spread fast through the precinct. Several witnesses told reporters they'd seen Karen screaming at me, threatening me, and demanding cops shoot me before the governor even appeared. A few even had videos. The cracks were spreading in her story. Back in the interrogation room, Ramirez dropped another photo in front of me. This one showed a security feed from a traffic cam a few miles away. It was blurry, but clear enough. A black SUV pulling up to my street, doors opening, men in suits helping a figure out. The timestamp? Less than 30 minutes before the shooting. It was the governor's security detail. Explain this, Marlowe demanded. I shook my head. You're asking the wrong guy. I didn't invite him. I didn't even know he was there until he walked out of the shadows. Ramirez rubbed his temple. Why would the governor of this state come to your garage in the middle of the night? I leaned forward. Maybe you should ask him. Because right before he went down, he told me he came to warn me. That shut them both up. Marlowe finally sat, folding his arms. Warn you about what? I shrugged. You tell me. You're the detectives. All I know is he collapsed before he could finish. The room went silent. The hum of the fluorescent lights was the only sound. Finally, Ramirez spoke. We can't hold you forever, but you're not walking out of here clean. Until we sort this out, you're under surveillance. If you sneeze, we'll know. Understand? I smirked. Better than being blamed for an assassination attempt I didn't commit. By the time they released me, the media frenzy had hit nuclear levels. Reporters clogged the steps of the precinct, shoving cameras and microphones at anyone who looked remotely connected. Headlines flashed across TV screens. Governor shot in suburban garage. Neighbor detained in possible assassination plot. HOA president claims she foiled deadly attack. Karen, of course, was loving it. She gave interviews like she was auditioning for a reality show, painting herself as the brave heroine who had saved the governor. But her story didn't add up. Reporters began poking holes. Why had she been lurking outside my garage at night? Why did she scream for cops to shoot before anything had happened? And how could she possibly have known the governor was there unless she had some connection? Her confidence began to crack. On live TV, when pressed, she snapped, Well, maybe I didn't know exactly, but I had a feeling. I have instincts about these things. The clip went viral. Memes exploded online, mocking her instincts. And while she basked in the temporary spotlight, the seeds of her downfall were already being sown. Because someone somewhere had set all this up. And I was determined to find out who. My phone, confiscated the night before, had been returned with 50 missed calls, a tidal wave of messages, and every social media feed I had exploding with clips of Karen's interviews. She was already infamous. Half the internet mocked her, the other half condemned her. Memes called her the pearl-clutching president of doom. But what mattered most was the single news headline that flashed across every screen in the city. Governor Harris survives night, expected to recover. That was the turning point. The attempted assassination narrative started to crumble because Harris wasn't dead, and the man himself wasn't staying quiet. 3 days later, I was summoned back to the hospital. A plainclothes officer escorted me through endless security checks until I stood outside a guarded door. Inside lay Governor Harris, pale but alive, tubes in his arm and a tired smile on his lips. You're the one from the garage, he rasped. I nodded. And you're the man who nearly bled out on my concrete floor. Mind explaining why you were there in the first place? He coughed. then waved the guards out. "Close the door. This stays between us." I sat, watching him carefully. Harris leaned closer, his voice dropping. "I wasn't supposed to be there. My security detail didn't know. It was just me and one driver. I came to warn you because I've been tracking something for months. And it leads back to your HOA." I blinked. "My HOA? You mean the same HOA that fines me if I forget to edge the lawn?" He nodded grimly. "That HOA. Or more specifically, Karen." I leaned back, stunned. Harris continued, "We've been investigating a network of shady property boards across the state. They use their positions to launder money, funnel political donations, even blackmail residents. Your neighborhood has been on our radar for a year. And Karen? She's not just a power-hungry busybody. She's connected to people far higher up the chain." Pieces clicked into place. Karen's obsession, her need to control, her insane confidence. It wasn't just ego. She thought she was untouchable because she had backing. "And you were coming to warn me?" I asked. "Yes," Harris whispered. "We intercepted chatter that Karen wanted you removed. She'd been digging into your background, twisting your name into reports. She knew you weren't pliable, and she was going to use you as an example. I wanted to tell you before she escalated. But she was already moving." I clenched my fists. "And your own police officers nearly finished the job for her." Harris sighed. "They thought they were responding to a threat. Karen set the trap, and I walked right into it." While Harris recovered, the investigation exploded. The footage from neighbors' phones, combined with Karen's contradictory statements, painted a damning picture. The viral clip of her shrieking, "Shoot him now," played on every major network. Experts tore her story apart piece by piece. And then came the hammer blow: financial records. The state attorney general announced that a task force had uncovered irregular transfers tied directly to the HOA board. Funds meant for community improvements had been siphoned into shell companies. And at the center of it all was Karen. The smug pro-clutcher who once ruled over trash can placement and garage door etiquette was suddenly facing charges of fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction. She didn't take it well. At the emergency HOA meeting, streamed live after reporters flooded the community center, Karen tried one last act of defiance. She stormed onto the stage, eyes wild, shouting, "This is all a setup. I was protecting you. I was saving the neighborhood. She jabbed a finger at me in the crowd, "is the real criminal. He brought the governor here. He set us all up." But this time no one bought it. The crowd booed. Some shouted, "Liar." Others held up their phones, replaying her own words back to her. Even her loyal board members shifted uncomfortably, realizing the empire she built was crumbling under her heels. When officers walked onto the stage with handcuffs, Karen's voice cracked into a desperate scream. "You can't do this to me. I am the HOA. You'll regret this. I'll..." Her words were cut short by the click of the cuffs. The cameras captured everything. The once mighty tyrant dragged off stage, her pearls rattling, her face twisted in rage and disbelief. Weeks later, when Harris was strong enough to speak publicly, he gave a press conference. The nation tuned in. He thanked the paramedics. He thanked the officers who secured the scene, even if their actions had nearly cost him his life. And then, to everyone's surprise, he thanked me. "This man," Harris said, pointing directly at me, "was painted as a villain. But I stand here alive today to tell you, he's not the villain. He is a citizen who became the target of corruption, a scapegoat created by those who thought they could manipulate the system for power. We cannot let lies destroy innocent lives. And we will not let corruption rot our neighborhoods." The applause was thunderous. Karen's empire of intimidation was gone. The HOA board was disbanded under state supervision. Investigations spread to other neighborhoods, uncovering similar schemes. What started with my open garage door turned into a statewide reckoning. As for me, I finally had peace. For the first time in years, I could open my garage without Karen's screeching voice on my back. I could park my truck however I damn well pleased. And when neighbors passed by, they didn't glare or whisper. They nodded, smiled, and sometimes even thanked me. But I never forgot the night that changed everything. The night sirens flooded our street. Shots rang out, and the governor bled on my garage floor. It could have ended with me 6 feet under. Instead, it ended with Karen in prison. And a reminder that sometimes the smallest battles, a garage door, a trash can, a nosy neighbor, are just the front lines of something much bigger.